Aden's Angel Nursery. Aden's Angel Nursery. Aden.
Well, hello, YouTubers. Excuse my voice. I haven't been feeling quite up to snuff. Been a little bit under the weather lately, but wanted to post this video and a few other videos as well because I just wanted to be sure that that I actually explained why I named Aden's Angel Nursery Aden's Angel Nursery. And for my subscribers who have been very supportive, and since the moment that I started on YouTube, I did, when I first posted my first video, I was talking about Aden's Angel Nursery and why Aden's Angel Nursery was so important to me and why I named it Aden. And I said, further down the line, I would eventually, when I felt comfortable and talking about something so personal, let people know why I decided to name it Aden's Angel Nursery. And so, everything is all in timing and things of that nature, and just finding the right time to, and feeling comfortable enough, I guess, to say, to talk about it. But Aden's Angel Nursery, the reason that I named it that was because I had lost a little angel. I named him Aden. His name was Aden. And he would have actually been 7 years old yesterday. So yesterday, November the 18th, he would have been turning 7. And so basically, that's where the name Aden came from in my nursery. So when I make the babies, it's many things to me. It makes me feel good. If the babies go to someone who loves and appreciates them, it makes me feel even better. When I take them to the senior homes and see the smiles on people's faces, that brings me joy. And I always feel like it's just something really special. And so, like I said, it's obviously something that's very personal to me, but I did want to eventually let people know the importance. So I did lose a baby who was very, very, very special and very important to me. And he was actually a miracle baby. I was told I couldn't have any more children. I had a 13-year-old child at the time, and many years had been told I couldn't have any more. And I guess I just didn't want to believe it. I believed in something bigger than, than what I could see. And I actually went out and I started buying things for the nursery and baby cribs, baby beds, all these things. And I think people were thinking, why in the world is she doing this? She's been told she can't have kids. And what happened was I had even thought about adoption, and I started attending the classes to adopt a baby. And I was told that there weren't any little babies available to adopt. It was older children and things of that nature. And also, I just didn't know when I was going to get a baby. So that was disheartening to me. And then I just remember thinking, where do I go from here? I stopped going to the classes. It didn't seem like I was going to get anywhere with adopting. And I just remember just looking up and just basically saying, help. What I would love to have one. I'd love to have a baby. And if I could only be blessed with that. And I did not know it at the time when I was asking this that I was already 2.5 months pregnant. I had had previous health issues and had pre-cancer and was told, a lot of medical issues before, and oh, you're not gonna, live to see this age, and you won't live to see that age. And every time something happened, it was pretty much told you're going to die. And so, I got really sick, became very, very, very ill. And I said, oh my goodness, maybe the cancer's, coming, or I don't know, something's going on. And what happened was I went in and the doctor said, no, you're not dying. As a matter of fact, you're expectant. And I couldn't believe it. And so I loved little 80, as I called him. From the moment I knew that I was pregnant, I was so happy. I was just so excited. And he had an affinity for barbecue because I am not a big barbecue eater, but when I was pregnant with him, oh my goodness, I would literally stop at one barbecue place, one each day. Okay, now I'm gonna try this. He loved Chinese food. I was always eating Chinese food, and I'm not a big ice cream eater, but he loved ice cream. So I had those weird cravings, and 3.5 months comes and goes, and I was really busy and didn't get the next checkup until I think it was about 4.5 months or so goes by, and I go in. It's about 4.5, 5 months. And I go in, and the nurse wouldn't show me him on the ultrasound this time, and she ran out of the room, and I'm like, what's going on? And several people come back in, and they're whispering, and it was just really disconcerting. Finally, they told me to get dressed, and I said, well, I'd like to see him. And they said, well, just get dressed. The doctor will talk to you in a moment. So I went to speak to the doctor. I said, I hate to talk about your service, but they wouldn't even show me the ultrasound. And that's when I was told that my little 80 was considered a non-viable fetus. Apparently, my womb was not conducive to him, and basically, he only had one leg. Basically, there were, I guess, fibers or something in my womb that were kind of like acting as blades and were chopping at him, and wherever he would move, something could serrate him, and apparently it got one of his legs. He had no skin from the neck down, and the way he was breathing was through the umbilical cord. His organs had atrophied, and I said that's why I was so deathly ill. And basically, his heart and lungs and liver were atrophied because there was no skin even holding those organs in. And that those atrophied organs that were basically, I guess, decaying, if you will, I don't know the word, were making me very ill. It was poisoning me. It was basically a life or death situation, and they said if I could choose to do it, no, it wasn't a choice. It was you do it or you die. So it was very, very tough. Very, very, very tough. And I had wanted this baby, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have this baby. And they said, you may not even live to carry this baby. He's slowly poisoning you. And so it was just very tough, but I wouldn't do it. They called me back in a few weeks later because I kept avoiding the phone calls, trying to see if I could switch to a different doctor, although they told me that no one in their right mind would even attempt to work with me to try to deliver this baby because it was basically a death sentence for me. So they called me in, and I went in, and they said, well, do you want him to feel the pain as he slowly comes through the birth canal, and he starts to fall apart because there's no skin holding anything together. So if he manages to live full term and you manage to live to carry him full term, he's still going to die. And at that point, you more than likely are going to die if you haven't died already trying to carry him. Because then they said that the pieces that would fall off in him they wouldn't be able to kind of scrape get those out of me, and that would continue to poison me. And I was so sick, and I just thought, this seems like more than morning sickness, but when you haven't been pregnant in 13, 14 years, you don't quite know what's weird and what's not. So I was already very, very ill. And that was the only thing that made me change my mind, was I did not want him to feel any pain. I did not want him to feel, anything more than what he had already felt. I mean, and he would move and I'd feel little flutters and I would sometimes feel him bounce or move around. And I thought he was perfectly fine. I would have never guessed that he was missing a leg or any of this other stuff. I had a nightmare where he didn't have any skin and it came out of nowhere and it stuck with me. And when they were telling me this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I had that nightmare about. And it had come to pass. And so it was very tough. They didn't give me any time to consider it any further. I think they were so afraid I was going to go home, change my mind. They set up the delivery immediately for the next day. So I had to go and, went in. And I said, please don't give me anything. Please don't give me anything. I want to be awake for everything. And I think they thought maybe I couldn't handle it because the next thing you know, I felt myself nodding and I kept trying to talk and stay awake and I was gone. I remember them saying that he was being born. And then I don't remember seeing him. No, I think, they brought him up to me and I don't remember what he looked like. But I remember saying he's sweet just like a little angel. And then I went back out again. And then when I woke up, he was gone. And so I cried and I begged for them to bring him back. And I think they were afraid that I'd be weirded out or something. And so finally, we were able to convince them to bring him back. And he literally fit in my hand. I was waiting to carry him in my arms. Thinking right at about 5 months or so, you should be bigger, but they're really tiny. They fit in your hand. And so I held up my hand and she said, whatever you do, don't pull the little blanket on him. And they said, don't pull it down below a certain point or I will have nightmares for the rest of my life. So I never pulled the blanket down. But while I was there in the hospital for the next few days, I did keep him with me. I was able to see him. We had him, he was prayed over. He was blessed. A pastor came in, blessed him. I was able to take him to the chapel. There was actually a chapel in the hospital, a little beautiful small chapel, and we were able to take him there on the final day. And then having to leave him on my final day was really hard. And so it was tough for me to hand him back over to the nurses. And what happened was I asked a friend of mine to bring me something from my house to hold. And so they bought me a teddy bear back because I have a doll collection. I also have teddy bears. And they bought this teddy bear back. And actually, I'm trying to think of where. Teddy bear. But they actually bought the teddy bear back to me. And when I was wheeled out of the hospital, holding the bear in my arms. And it just really made me feel better. I'm not going to say it made me anywhere near 100%. But there was a need in me after giving birth, because that's what I had to do. I had to actually give birth to the baby. And they were praying that all of him would come out in the one time, so that I wouldn't have anything to poison me left in my system. But there's an ache that takes over you and you want something to hold. And so that urge was so strong to want to hold something that I held the bear, and I was actually rolled out with the bear. And I was trying to find him. But so basically that's what happened. Had I known about these little darlings here, I would have said, bring me one of those so that I could have held something in my arms as I was pulled out. It was tough. I was in the women's section, I guess, where women have lost babies, and I remember hearing the wailings of mothers. It was so eerie, and that whole ward was dark and dreary, and you just felt the depression. You felt the depression. You felt everything. Wears glasses. You felt just the terrible feeling of that area. And I remember one mother was there, and I started hobbling around, I think my second day, and she wouldn't eat. They would bring the food in, and I remember just seeing her laying listless in her bed, staring up at the ceiling. And I just felt so bad, not only for myself, I felt bad for all the mothers who were in that ward. And, we weren't on the happy side. We weren't on the side where everybody's all happy and balloons, and, you immediately knew you were in a horrible feeling environment. And no matter how, and it was deathly quiet. It was really quiet in our section. Not one word. I could have heard a pin drop. Other than the wails and moans occasionally, it was very quiet. So it was very, very tough for me, to put it lightly. And I took it very hard. And so when I got home, I cried. I didn't want to talk to anyone about it. I was angry. I was angry at everyone. I was angry at myself. I blamed myself. Was there something I could have done? Was there something I should have done? Was there something I should not have done? Why did he come out that way? Why did I get this precious gift and it's taken away? I mean, so many questions, and I just didn't know what to think. I tried to go back to work, and if I saw babies, I would cry, and so it made it very difficult for me to do just really anything. If I was around babies, I'd cry uncontrollably. I'd be in a grocery store, standing in line to check out, and have to literally put my cart back and leave if a baby came in front of me. It was that, and I've never been in that state before in my life, and I've had a lot of ups and downs. And I was shocked because I didn't know what was going on. I guess I didn't realize I was grieving, because literally once that happened, I was back at work that night. I had to go back in because I was never given maternity leave, because as far as I guess my boss saw it, that's not maternity. There's no baby, so there is no maternity leave to care for a baby that didn't happen. So there was no time to recover or grieve, if you will, physically, mentally, or emotionally. So it was just a lot. I ended up losing my job. I went from being top salesperson to I couldn't sell anything. If you had a baby in your arms, I couldn't even sell to you. It was just, I would have to leave your presence and break down and cry. And so it was so tough. And it was very tough. I didn't have the words right now to describe it. And what had happened was, for 7 days, I didn't realize that on the 7th day, you have to bury the baby or cremate the baby. You have to do something with the body. So the hospital called me on the 5th day, and they said, oh, if you don't pick up the baby by Sunday, which was the 7th day, we're going to have to, cremate with all the dead babies that died, that week or whatever. And we're going to sprinkle their ashes on the rose bushes around the hospital. Well, for someone who's lost the baby, let me tell you, you already feel denied big time. And the last thing you want to hear is that. You want to hear that you can have your baby, take it home, cremate it, bury it, whatever it is you need to do. But you want that baby to be in a final resting place that you can go and visit or talk to or whatever. So here I was, no money to do a cremation or a burial session, because I hadn't planned on, having to bury a child. I was planning on, I didn't even think I could get pregnant. Let's go with that. So it was really disconcerting. I tried to see if there was anything I could sell. I begged every funeral home, please take credit. None of them did. They had to have everything up front. And so I was devastated. So on the 7th day, that 7th day morning, I dressed all in black. I laid on my bed. I wrote out, just pretty much wrote out my will, where I wanted my other child to be with, what to do with my home or my possessions. And I said that I was going to go to the hospital and I was going to get my baby. And a friend of mine said, well, you can't move a baby's body or a dead body. That's illegal. So I pretty much knew if I went up there, I wasn't leaving without the baby. So I pretty much knew I was probably going to, I don't know, possibly be shot. I don't know. But I was prepared to die. I really was prepared to die. I was dressed in black. I was ready to die, to go up there and pick my child up and take my baby. Because I felt that I could not move forward without that closure. I could not move a step further. I could not breathe without that closure, without my baby with me, where he belongs with his mother, who loved him so much that I would have laid my life down for him. Would have, easily. And so something said, a voice in me said, go and call again. And I had been working this phone book, and I went back to the phone book. There were 2 more numbers that I had not called. And I called the first one, another rejection. I called the last one. I was crying on the phone by then. I said basically, I knew I was going to die that day if they did not help me with this situation. And they said that they had a program to help people who had infants who had passed, but not fetuses, as they called it. And I said, well, my baby was a baby, whether he was a fetus, whether he was an infant. I loved him no more, no less than if he were outside of the womb. And I actually talked to him daily, like he was sitting here right next to me. He was as real to me as though he were sitting right next to me. So why couldn't I have assistance for him? Because I loved him. And so the manager, the supervisor rather, went and said, hold one moment, just hold that. And I just said, okay, that's it. That's it for me, lights out, because I'm going to go up there and get my baby. By any, whatever needs to happen, if they're going to not give him to me, I will not leave until I had him with me. And so the manager came online and he said, we are going to help you get your baby. And he asked me where the place was. And I was so afraid that they were going to not do it and were just telling me this, that he said that he was going to call me the minute they picked him up. And I said, please do, because if you don't get him today, it's done. And I'm going up there. And he said, no, ma'am, we're going to do this. He said, and I can't put your baby in, a big fancy urn. He's just going to be in a little box. And that's all we can do. And I said, you know what? I don't care if it's in a paper bag. It's not the container that's most important to me. He is most precious to me than anything on this earth, more precious than gold. So it's not the container, just whatever you have. I'm just so grateful. And so he called me the minute he picked up little 80, just as he said. And it took a couple of days, and he called me back to say 80 was ready to go home. And I was so happy. I cannot tell you, my eyes are watering up now. I can't tell you how happy I was. I cannot tell you how happy. And I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to do this. I was not going to cry. But when I went to pick him up, I told the manager that he was an angel for helping me, because he saved my life when he did that for me, because there was no way, there was no way that I could have left without him with me. And I didn't want him to be by himself in the dark and alone and feeling unloved, which that was so far from the truth with all those other little babies. He needed to be with his mother, who would do anything for him. And so I just broke down and cried, and just kept thanking him. And he said, oh, don't thank me. And so I was able to bring him home with me, and he's still here with me. And actually, when I pass, I will have he will be buried with me, with his mother, who loved him. so much, loves him so much. Um, but he was just beautiful. That's the only thing I could tell you. It was, I always felt that when I was carrying him, that he was doing it for me. I knew that he was, the doctors couldn't believe that he had even survived as long as he did. Why, how was he even living? And I truly believe to this day that he was doing it because of me, that he knew how much I loved him and he knew how much I wanted him. And I think he was just trying to be strong. He was trying to be strong for his mommy. And I can't even describe to you the connection I had with this child. It was a very strong connection. It was each child is different, obviously, but he was very, very different because I felt like I could feel him. Excuse me. So I tried to find the gentleman. In each year I have because June the 18th is when I had to induce the labor and gave birth to him, and he died because he couldn't live outside my womb. So, and approximately November 18th, the doctor had calculated was his original due date. So that's why November the 18th, we generally do the birthday cakes. We sing happy birthday. It's a celebration. June is when I lost him. And so June the 18th is generally, a time of remembrance where we try to remember him and things of that nature. It's, I'm allowed to grieve, I guess you could say. And then really November the 18th is supposed to be all about celebration of life and celebration, and we're happy and we're remembering him and talking about him. So that's pretty much how I celebrate it every year. So yesterday was his birthday, but I didn't want to do anything rushed because I had to work and not feeling well either. So this weekend we'll do the birthday cake and the fun stuff. And I generally have try to have his favorite food. He loved ice cream. I'm convinced he did because, oh my goodness, when I was preggers, I was ice creamed out. I believed he loved barbecue, so I tried to put some barbecue out for him. And actually on his final day, I actually ran out and got ice cream. And the night before, I took him to see a fun movie that he could enjoy. So, so that was, I'm sorry, and I'm off track, and I said I wasn't going to cry. But I've had a lot of stuff. I had a lot of ups and downs, and I know life will throw more curveballs before it's all said and done. And but that, to me, nothing can ever compare to losing him. Whatever else I have to go through, losing a child I wouldn't wish losing a child on my worst enemy. I would not wish it on anyone. It's tough. I have good years. Last year was a tough year for me. It came out of nowhere. It was a tough year for me. I was very much missing him. I was very much, and so each year's different. There's a year where I'll go by and I'm not as bad, and then every once in a while it'll hit you and you just grieve. But so that's where it all comes from. I love animals. I have several animals. They're like children to me, and I have some that recently died that were older, is almost as old as my grown daughter. And they managed to live to see her go off to college because they were, my children. I am glad to say, and that's why it's a great celebration of life, because I was so hurt and so bitter and just depressed after I lost him that I didn't want to try anymore for other children. And I did, and I was able to have another child, and right afterwards. She turned 6 years old, just a week or so ago, and so I ended up dying on the table actually when I had her, and woke up on life support, and it was really bad. I had to go through that and was hospitalized for a long while, and still have issues from that and things of that nature. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. She's my other miracle child, and I'm so blessed to have her, and I'm just glad that I was able to have another child. I will always miss Aden. I will go to my grave missing him. And here I go again. My goodness. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. But I will. He was just a sweet baby, a sweet soul. He would have been beautiful. And it was a few years ago when I was having a bad time thinking about him, and I had this lovely dream that I was in a white bathrobe and I was walking down this hall, and there was this white bright door, and I pushed it open, and it was a white bathroom, all white, everything inside white, shower curtains white, everything white, big white fluffy towel sitting by the tub, and in the tub was this beautiful baby, and he was laughing and smiling at me, and he was splashing, and he was just fat and chubby and so cute. And I went over to him with a smile on my face, and I picked him up and put him in the towel, and I was kissing those fat cheeks, and I just felt so good. And I believed that it maybe was to let me know that he was okay. He was well, he was healthy, he was all right. And so it did my heart good to see that. And, but again, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. But what happened was, so I have the fur kids, and I collect dolls, and maybe dolls because they look like children, could be. But when I started making dolls was when I started feeling something special was happening. Excuse me. The first doll I made was an infant, and one day I'll be brave enough to show you guys what she looks like. She didn't turn out good at all. But the second doll I was making, little Hayden, I don't name my dolls. I just recently was naming my dolls. I have tons of dolls. I've never named them. I didn't believe in naming a doll. I just didn't, understand it, I guess you could say. But when I was making Hayden, it came to me, Hayden was just coming to me that she should be called Hayden. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, "What did you say that doll's name was?" And I said, Hayden. And I said, "I don't know why, but I just felt something strong when I was making her." And she said, "What was the baby's name that you lost?" And I said, Aden. And she said, "Oh my goodness, Hayden, Aden." And so for me, that was a special awareness, I guess you could say. And I said, wow, that's a specialness that I feel. And so that's where I came up with naming the nursery, excuse me, Aden's Angel Nursery. And so little Hayden, I just couldn't let her go. So she was my keeper baby, and there's just something special about her. I guess there's something special about all of them, because they're all made with love, and and that's what it stands for. That's what the nursery that I have stands for. It's love. It's putting everything you have into trying to make a beautiful baby, that hopefully when I take to the senior homes they'll enjoy, or people that choose to have them will enjoy, because each little baby, I put it all there. I put everything into them, and they do so much good for so many people. And whether you're a doll collector and you have them because you have collections, or whether you've lost a baby, or whether you have Alzheimer's or dementia, or depression or anxiety, or just if you want to teach a young girl how to care for something other than herself and hopefully dissuade her from having, quote unquote, a real baby. There's just so many uses for these dolls. And I know for me, it's healing in so many ways. And I guess I never think about how or why they make me feel good. I just know that they do. And I don't, try to dig any further or psychoanalyze it. But there's definitely something about it, and if it helps people, that's what it's all about. But yes, so I apologize for the emotional outburst, I guess you could call it. I really had wanted to, kind of keep it, on a different level, I guess you could say. But yeah, he was very special to me, and as are the babies that I make. And so I think everything is all about timing, and I felt that now is the time to actually talk about why I named the nursery the way I did, and things of that nature. So thank you again for giving me your time, and his time is so valuable. And so I appreciate every time that you guys look at my videos, or, like I say, I hope that, it can help other people in some way, or, really brighten your day, and things of that nature. And to all the mothers who have lost children, my heart goes out to you. And just know that your little angels are somewhere safe. And I'm not going to say that it gets easier per se, or that it goes away, but in time, you do try to come to some understanding about the whys, which I had a lot of whys. But thank you so much again, and sorry this video has kind of went a lot longer. My eyes are watery, so I can't even see the screen right now. But thank you again, and you have a wonderful night, and hug your babies close. Love the babies. They're so precious. Children are so precious. Every last one of them. Enjoy them. They are just the most beautiful things on this earth. Thank you. Bye.